I did introduce the concept of parallel lines in one of the videos before. So we are going to take up an activity to understand the concept better. So the objective over here is to observe the surrounding world and see if we have parallel lines. Is it common and where do we see it? So before that, there's a small definition. So this activity is going to help us define the characteristics of parallel lines. That does it sometime meet or never intersect? Intersect means meet. Do parallel lines meet or not meet? That's the question. Parallel lines do not meet, they never meet. Okay, so the procedure is quite simple. This is something that you guys have to be doing. So first is we define parallel lines simply as lines that are always the same distance apart and never meet, no matter how far you extend them. Now, observe your immediate environment. Next is identify line pair, identify pairs of straight lines around you. Hypothesize intersection. For each pair, imagine if the lines would meet when extended infinitely in both directions. So what exactly I have to do? I have a bunch of example over here. I'll do that and you guys have to do it at your end. Sort observed lines pair into group, intersecting and non-intersecting line. So basically everything around you is made up of lines. The screen that you guys are seeing, or the chair that you are sitting on, the pen that you might be holding, the book that you might be using, the lines in the books. Then what else can you have? Then chair, table, stool, your water bottle, your pencil box, right? Your hand itself, your fingers, everything is made up of lines. But yeah, we are considering straight lines. So the wall, the floor, the mat, the tiles, it can be anything. In this case, we have a stool, a keyboard. This is supposed to be a bird's eye view of a railway track. That is, we are looking at a railway track from above. So me, I will be observing, say I observed this line. When I looked at this picture, I was able to see this line. This is a clear set of lines over here too. And even this is a line. This too is a line. This is a line. This is a line. This are lines again. And here too we have lines, lines, lines. Again, I'm just extending so that it's visible. So we had to observe, okay, identify lines, line pairs, identify pairs of straight lines around you. So, well, it can be any two of this. They will form a pair. Hypothesize them intersecting. If we extend these lines, you have to imagine, okay, if I extend these lines, will they meet? Well, these two already met. This, if I extend, they will meet. If I consider a line over here, let me actually change the screen. If I consider this line, right, and this line, they will meet. This line and this line, yeah, if I extend, they will meet. If the top two lines here and here in this chair, in this stool, if I extend them, what happens? They will not meet clearly. If I take up these two lines, if I extend them, they will not meet clearly, right? Even these two lines, they will not intersect. This two, I mean, this line and this line, clearly they are intersecting at this point. If we consider this line and this line, they are intersecting over here. Okay, so let's look at the observation section and you need to answer these questions. Can you find examples of lines in your room or in your desk that runs alongside each other without ever crossing? So alongside is next to each other. So can you see any pair of lines? Again, imagine everything is made up of lines. Every edge is made up of lines. Can you see any pair of line that, even if you imagine that, if I say how I can imagine is, if I take up a table of that size and the same structure and all of that, if I'm able to keep them next to each other, can I go to a point wherein the table, the edges will meet? Can you imagine that? So will they meet? Can you imagine? Close your eyes. I'm able to see that they are not meeting. I'm running, I'm keeping more stools. They're not ending. So to this point, they never, I kept one more, They're not meeting. So no, they are not crossing. If they were to extend these pairs of lines endlessly, do you think they would eventually meet? No. What is the most noticeable difference between lines that meet and those that don't? Well, those who are meeting, they get closer and they move apart. The distance between them, let me explain this way. Yeah, it's over here. So we are looking at this line and this line. And what we have here is, okay, let me make it a bit darker. If I consider the distance between them in this manner, clearly the distance between them is, what is happening? Yes, reducing. What about the distance between these two guys? What's happening over there? Yes, the distance is, it remains the same. Is it not? So based on your observation, actually I should not be telling you guys those answers. That was a mistake. Based on your observation, how would you describe a pair of parallel lines? Can you provide an example of parallel lines from everyday object or structure? So for me, this is for me from my experience. The strip of the white strip on the road, right? The end, these two ends, they are parallel lines. Then that is one example from my end. I'm looking at one structure. I can't show it to you guys over here. So this structure is where I keep my pen per se, the digital pen. I mean, one which I'm able to write over here. That box has parallel lines. So what is the key distinction between intersecting lines and parallel lines? Let me show the answer now. Okay, so these are some of the general answers that you can have a look at. So the key thing over here is, the very important part of this discussion is that the intersecting lines crosses each other at a point while parallel lines never meet regardless of extension. And also the distance between the parallel lines, they remain the same. That's one more thing that I will keep in mind about parallel lines. Okay, guys, there's nothing much for you guys to copy over here. But yeah, if you want to have a read, you can pause